Hello and welcome. Finally, we are here. My name, for those of you that don't know me, is Mary Rocha. Previously Mary Winchester. We'll get into that a little bit later. Both are the same person, I promise you. But welcome to my channel. It's titled Mary Had a Little Dog. Really funny, I know. We'll get more into the naming of that later if people are interested. But yeah. For those of you that don't know me, are a professional dog groomer. I have 2.5, almost 3 years of experience, 3 years coming up in July. And about 1.5 years ago, I would say, I actually started I had an Instagram and then I deleted it about a year ago, but I would post on there pet parent education segments, and always wanted to start a full-length YouTube channel. Sorry for the noise. My dog is rolling in my child's toys. Of course she is. They always do this. But yeah, anyways, so 1.5 years ago, I deleted that channel though, that Instagram, because it wasn't serving me anymore. I since just reopened it to post photos and other things because I have been making strides in some of my professional goals. But yeah, anyways, I had a lot of pet parents reach out and just tell me how much they appreciated those because it was a place where I could send them to give them fairly concise information about their dog and their dog's coat type and what grooming needed to be done at home. Currently, I do just send it off in I have it in a Word document, and I'll copy and paste it into what we call our progress reports and send that off to pet parents, but who wants to read, a good, 5 paragraphs of how to brush your dog. I figured it would be easier to just show you guys and have a nice video you could just put on in the background. That way you can get that information while you're doing other things, because I know we're all super busy. But anyways, so I wanted to start this up about a year ago when I moved back. Yes, when we moved to Utah for my husband's work. But I got pregnant, and so things were kind of put on hiatus. We'll go more into that later. But finally, we are starting this channel. Also, right now, I am in my baby girl's room. I would like to hopefully film these at work, just because there's better lighting, and all my tools are there. It's a little nicer. A little less chaotic, especially if I'm the last one there. But we shall see. Also, if I keep looking down, it's because my baby... her baby monitor is down there. Baby, I need you to lay down. Lay down. Thank you. Sorry, my girls are not used to this much attention right now because I am usually with my baby. Anyways, a little bit about me. Like I said, I've been grooming for 2.5 years. I started my pet grooming journey at PetSmart in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado. The grooming scene over there is very different than it is here in Salt Lake City. It's very interesting. In both places, there are a lot of dogs, but in Denver, people get dogs before they have kids, and more people have dogs than kids right now. And that's just because kids everywhere else, besides really Salt Lake City, really expensive, and people don't really see the need for them right now. Which I get. In Salt Lake City, it very much is for religious reasons with the Mormon faith, which I am actually a part of. And so that's why more people have kids here than they do over in Denver. Anyways, so more people have dogs over there. More people too, because when I moved over to Salt Lake, I just transferred to a PetSmart here. And it was very weird. More people in Denver trust PetSmart, and there's a lot, I don't mean to say this in the wrong way, there's a higher level of standard, or at least in the salons I worked at in Colorado. I worked in 3 different ones, than there is here in Salt Lake City. And I think that's just because that's where most of the groomers over there kind of start out. And a lot of people stay there and build their careers off of that, because PetSmart does have pretty good, benefits for a dog groomer. And, there's brand loyalty and all that comes into play too. Anyways, I started over there and was a groomer for about 1.5 years, and then we moved over to Salt Lake City. Like I said, I transferred to PetSmart at first, found that 1, I wasn't getting enough clients, and 2, there was just people weren't expecting the same level of quality and didn't want to, even though all the pricing was the same, they didn't want to pay extra for extra scissoring if they wanted a different face, or X, Y, and Z. And so it was kind of a weird transition. So I decided, both for those reasons and also for my goals as a groomer, to part ways with PetSmart, and I ended up finding PetSuite. Really funny, they have almost identical names, but PetSuite is a boarding facility nationwide, and they specialize in boarding, but they also do grooming and training, like a lot of boarding facilities are doing nowadays, trying to get everything into one roof, just like PetSmart was doing. So but anyways, I have absolutely loved my time at PetSuite. It's been great. Since starting just over a year ago, I have earned a few different certifications because at PetSmart you don't need them, but I wanted to have them, out in the big person world, I guess, or the big world of dog grooming, just so that I could prove and show my worth. Also, sorry, my girls are play fighting right now, so if you hear growling, I apologize. But the first certification I gained was the AKC Safe certification. And essentially what that means is that I prioritize a pet safety above anything else. When your dog is with me, you need to know that they are safe. I treat them like my own dogs and like my own family. And I care very deeply for the dogs that I groom, especially those that are very loyal to me and I groom on a regular basis. But any dog that comes in and is on my table, I treat with the utmost respect and care, and make sure that their safety is always prioritized. That includes over their looks, although I always do try to provide a very high quality groom. If a dog is fully matted, I'm not going to sit there and brush the dog out, babysit, for hours on end when it's going to hurt them, or make them extremely uncomfortable and stressed out. And so there you go. I will opt for shaving it if that's going to be the safest and most, stress-free option. If I can though, and there's very light matting or not a lot of matting in the face, I will brush that out and give you a cute teddy bear face with, a shaved body if I have to. So that's kind of what that means. The other thing is also means I keep a very very clean table, and I keep my tools clean and the salon very clean. That is very important, especially to me. Weird thing about me, I am a little bit of a germaphobe, and so funny that I'm in dog grooming where you deal with a lot of really gross things. I handle and touch dog poop all the time, obviously. There's a lot of cleaning that has to be done with that, but kind of funny that I am in that career because of that. But I do keep the salon and anywhere that the dog is very clean. After that, I ended up getting this was the other one that was very important to me, is my, and my little girl might be waking up. We will see. Sometimes she just stretches in her sleep. She was just stretching. Okay, good. Maybe. We are sleep training right now, so it is a lot. Okay, she's back asleep. We're good to continue. This is another reason I want to do these at work, is because then I don't have to worry about my kid sleeping, because I have somebody watching her while I am at work, obviously. But I wanted to get this one out, and I do not have time this week because I am booked, and last week I did not have time either because I was fully booked. I actually got overbooked last week. But anyways, back to next certification that I wanted to get was my canine first aid and CPR certification. This one was extremely important to me because being at a PetSmart and starting there, most PetSmarts had a vet, it was Banfield, within the facility. So if we, even if we barely nicked a dog, if there was blood, we had to take them to the vet. For obviously reasons, you want to make sure it's not infected. You want to make sure that if it's really deep, they get immediate care. That way it does the least damage possible. Luckily I had no issues. The only time I had to run a dog over to the vet was one time I took a dog in, started washing it, and it kind of, it was when I was still new, so I was trying to figure out what was what. It was just an extremely dirty dog that had been outside for a long time, so it had pretty bad skin that was flaking off, which is something that happens a lot. But I was like, is this mange? It was not. But I did run that over to the vet to get it checked out. But anyway, so I got my canine CPR and first aid certification, so that I because now I do not have a vet within this facility, I know how to treat and keep, any wounds that, because stuff happens in grooming facilities. We are working with sharp objects around a dog that is moving. And when you're a pet groomer, most of the pets you work with are not trained to be groomed. In fact, grooming is a very weird experience for them because a lot of them too only get it done maybe once or twice a year, which is not what they're supposed to have. The ones that do get it multiple times and on a schedule are a lot better. Usually, sometimes they do still struggle, but there's ways that we can work around that. But anyways, grooming's really weird. So you're working with a moving animal that you cannot clearly communicate to most of the time with very sharp objects. So things do and will happen. Luckily, like I said, I have not had any major injuries because like I said, safety is number one. I never want to injure a dog or hurt a dog. Nobody does, but especially me. But having that training, if I do, nick an ear or, if I'm doing clean feet, there was one time I was testing a new blade out. It was on my own dog, luckily, but I nicked a little bit of her nail bed. I was able to treat that without having to take him to the vet. If I do nick a dog, I do usually give a small discount just because, again, I don't want that to happen, and it's me showing that I am very sorry for that. If it is a more serious issue, then obviously I will take them to the vet, but the first aid and CPR training gives me the experience to keep your dog safe and protected while transporting them. Also, my managers also have that training, and so they are also able to transport dogs to and from a vet if needed. Luckily, though, like I said, none of my dogs that I have cared for have needed any medical attention, and I very much so hope to keep it that way. And then the last training that or certification that I received was just barely, and that is my AKC PGC, lots of acronyms, I know. What that stands for is AKC Professional Grooming Credentials or Certification. I forgot the exact one. But what that one is so actually dog grooming is very interesting as a profession. You technically do not need any certification or prior skills to be a dog groomer. Obviously, if you're working at a salon, you're either going to do that through an apprenticeship, or if you go to PetSmart, they have a training program that they will put you through, luckily free of charge. I think Petco does the same thing, I want to say. Not super familiar with them just because I didn't work there. Or you have to show that you have that skill. A lot of salons do a normal interview, but then they do a working interview where you bring in a dog. That way you don't injure one of their dogs or, a client's dog if you are an unsafe groomer, and they have you groom the dog start to finish so that they make sure that you have the skills needed. But if you are a at-home groomer or you have your own business, you technically do not need a license or certification or skills to start dog grooming. Very interesting because, again, hairstyling, my cousin is a hairstylist actually. You need very specific certifications, licenses, etc. to be able to start legally grooming, or not grooming hair, cutting human hair, and styling it. So very interesting between the two. But AKC is working to get a more standardized certification. Obviously, to make it law, it has to be passed into law, and so that probably won't happen. But the PGC is their way of doing that, or the Professional Grooming Credentials. What it is you have to take a written test and pass, I believe it was 80 or 85%. There's a lot of tests I've been taking recently. I will explain more of that later. But anyways, you take a written test that goes over everything from business practices, safety, dog handling, different styles and cuts, and dog anatomy, which is big. All the different requirements and things that go into grooming and, running a grooming business, and running a successful salon. And after that, they have to verify with two different sources. Has to be somebody in the dog field. It can't just be a friend. Has to be a coworker, a manager, a vet if you are a at-home business. It can be a client as well, if I remember correctly, that you have worked so many hours. And then you also have to provide where you got your dog training or your dog grooming training. There you go. Lots of words there. And they have to verify that. So I recently did just get that a couple weeks ago. I meant to get it earlier, but like I said, I got pregnant a year ago. I was not focused very heavily on dog grooming at that point. And then lastly, the last certification that I am currently pursuing, and this is the big one. This is one that's going to take anywhere between 5 to 10 years. Most people try to complete it within 5 to 8 years, though, is the Master Grooming Certification, or the NCMG, which is the, what is it, National Certification of Master Grooming. And essentially what that is you have to take written tests, which I just finished my written test last night, so that part is done. No more test taking, thank goodness. Which goes over different dog breeds, dog standard cuts, dog anatomy, all of those different things. Basically, you were tested on in the PGC, sorry, but to a much more intense extent. They're mainly focusing on 4 different groups of dogs that have very specific cuts. There are the non-sporting. You can think of your poodles and your Bichon Frises. And then you have your sporting, which is like your Cocker Spaniels, your setters, and other types of spaniels, like it's not the working class of dogs, but the dogs that like work in the field. And then you also have your terriers, which terriers are actually broken into 2 groups in grooming. You have your short-legged terriers, which are like your Cairn terriers, your Scotties, your Westies, kind of those ones. Also, sorry, my dog BB is on the other side of this little ottoman. I have my camera set up, so she is knocking it back and forth a little bit. So sorry about that. And then the other terriers are your long-legged terriers, and those are your schnauzers. Sorry, I just blinked on that word. Schnauzers, Airedales, wire fox terriers, kind of the longer. They're usually higher up on the ground. That's why they call them long-legged terriers. Or distinct in form, as some people call them. I know, very prestigious. Those are the main 4 groups that they are focused on. And then your last test you take is on all the other groups. So working, herding, toy. I think those were the 4. Oh, and hounds. Those were the 4 groups that you take a whole written test on. The other 4 had individualized tests. But anyway, so past all the written ones, and now I have to work on the practical exams, which that is the long part. Essentially what it is you have to get a dog and cut it and groom it to breed standard. And it's not just doing it, you have to do it very well and pass it off with a, master groomer who is certified. And so it used to be that you had to go to a dog grooming show and show your dog in the dog grooming show. And it's not like, the dog grooming shows are not like the dog show that everybody thinks about, where they, parade the dogs back and forth and look at how well they conform with the breed standard. That's totally different. A dog grooming show is where you bring a dog, they have to have 8 weeks or more of hair growth, and then you groom them. And there's always a before and after photo so that you can see, your progress and what the transformation they went through. I always loved doing before and after photos. Really cool, especially on like the really long doodles that get all cleaned up. They look amazing afterwards. And then there's a judge that will come around and judge and give out the best. There's different categories. So you have like breed standard categories, and then you also have more artistic categories where you can a little bit more creatively express, what you did. The one that I went to in last, I believe it was May, I want to say, so almost a year ago, at the Utah Grooming Dog Expo, which is called Grand Teton, Grooming Expo. We went to I forgot which one it was called. I believe it was called Creative or Artistic. But essentially what it was is you could do a breed standard cut, but on a different breed. So the one that won, it was absolutely gorgeous. They did a Bedlington Terrier cut on a miniature poodle. Very beautiful. She did an amazing job. My old salon leader and one of the people that trained me back in Denver actually had a Bedlington Terrier as a client, and they got the breed standard cut, and she did an amazing job. So really cool to see that haircut, but just on a different dog. But anyway, so that's some of those different categories. But it used to be you could only pass off then, and you had to pay an extra fee on top of the admission fee to the grooming show, in order to get a qualified judge to come and judge your dog, and then pass it off. And it could take, years, because grooming expos are only so often. There's usually only one per year per city. So like the one here in Utah, it was Grand Teton. It's not even until October this year, so we're gonna be waiting a while. And then the other one that's close is Rocky Mountain. That's over in Colorado Springs. And there's Super Zoo, which is down in Vegas, but that one is kind of like, it's so big that you have to be approved before you can even attend the expo. They don't want, it's because they don't want like random people just walking in. They want, because it is so big and so many people go now, they want to verify that you're part of a dog or a pet business. And so they have to verify that. But anyways, so that's how it used to be. You have to pass off, so it could take forever. Now though, you get 2 submissions when you buy the package of all the stuff you need for the NCMG. And you get 2 pass-offs online. So you have to take a before and after photo of, I think it's all 4 sides of the dog. And then obviously I said before and after photos of all 4 sides of the dog. You get 2 submissions, and then they are graded online. So a little less work. I say work. A little less like complicated, I guess. Because now you don't have to like go to a grooming expo. Oh, sorry, she's starting again. Let's see. Will she settle herself down? That is the question of the day. Yeah, she did. Okay. And so now it's also easier too, because you can use clients. Obviously, I would get clients' permission before submitting photos. But that, again, it's very hard because very few people want their pets groomed to breed standard these days. So yeah, the easiest way to do the practicals is to actually get your own dog and do it. So that's why it takes so long, because it is very expensive, very time consuming, because you are getting purebred dogs, or they do say you have a little bit of, leniency when it comes to it. But if you use anything other than like the breed standards that they list, you do have to get it approved before time. So like, for example, I love giant schnauzers. The giant schnauzers are technically in the working class of dogs, not the terriers. They're the standard, and I believe the miniature are in the miniature for sure. I'm pretty sure the standard is also in the terrier group. I would have to double check the standard though. Now I'm like, so many tests I took the last few days. At least I know what their haircuts are. That's what matters. And I have a book that will tell me. But anyways, they get the exact same haircut as the standard and the miniature. It's just on a bigger dog. So when I emailed asking my questions, I guess, hey, this is a dog that me and my husband would be interested in getting down the line, and adding to our family, would this count as this dog? Because if we're going to get a dog other than my dream dog, which I will go into later, it needs to be able to be used for my NCMG. So yeah, anyways, so that's a little bit about what I am pursuing now. Other things that I will be pursuing, because this is just such a long and lengthy process, is I still want to continue my education. I want to learn new haircuts and skills, which I'll already be doing by pursuing the MCMG, but I want to do that with other areas as well. Something that I would love to like really learn how to do and take classes on is dyeing dogs, like hair dye. I think that there are some really cool creative things that you can do with that. So that would be really fun to learn how to do it a little bit better. I've done like a tail tip dye, where you dye like the top couple inches of a tail. That is really it though. I would love to learn how to do like different patterns. Some people like to do like socks on their dog, is what they call them, where you just dye like a little booty. That's what it looks like they're wearing a little colored shoe. And I have like watched videos online, but it's different watching a video than it is like practicing it in person. And it's something that I really should just do to my own dogs, but I like my dogs to look a certain way. So. But anyways, that's another thing I want to do. Another thing is a big style that is starting to come into like normalized salons here. It's in higher end salons in America right now, but it's something that's becoming a little more normalized, is what's called Asian fusion styles. Essentially what it is a shorter body with longer legs, and this started over in Asia, believe it or not, because they like to dress their fluffy little dogs up in cute little sweaters. But what happens when a dog wears a sweater and they have long fur and you don't take it off to brush it is it gets matted. So what they did, really genius actually, is they shaved the body of the dog short, and then starting a little bit lower, they do like these really cool, they're like triangular looking arms, and like legs are really cool. How they end up looking really beautiful. And then the face, they have a totally different face. Everywhere that I have like done research, it calls it a mushroom face. They do a shorter kind of like chin and muzzle area. The muzzle is an oval usually, instead of like with a teddy bear face, it's usually a little bit longer, like a mustache. And then they have a really big poofy top knot with, you can do really fun things with the ears. So that's something that I also would like to get a little bit better at. But again, really hard to do that if you don't have a dog or clients willing to do that. But there are classes that I can take, especially at grooming expos. So that is on my list for hopefully this year in October to do. There we go. She settled again. Okay. Now that my certifications and what I am pursuing right now are over, let's go into a little bit about me as a person, because I always like to have a personal connection. So like I said, I've been grooming for 2.5 years. Before that even, so I grew up in Salt Lake City, actually, born and raised until about the pandemic. I made a major life change where instead of continuing to go through college, which originally I did go into college to become a vet, and then I swapped because I realized I was going to go through 8 years of schooling, which is basically as much as a doctor, to make not as much as a doctor. And so I didn't want to get into tons and tons of debt if I wasn't gonna, be able to pay my way out of it quickly. So I actually transitioned to be more just in the sciences. I did physics, chemistry, biology. I kind of flipped between all three for a little bit. And then I decided, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. And the pandemic hit at about the exact same time. So I changed courses and became a flight attendant, actually. And flight attending was awesome. I think I burned out really, really quickly though, because I was actually the second class training after they started going again after the pandemic. So I had to deal with all the mask issues with people on the plane. So I burned out pretty quickly. Also, around that time, I met my husband and we got married, and we both decided I didn't want to be out of the house for 4 or 5 nights a week, especially kind of during that newlywed phase. We wanted to very much work on our relationship and make it very strong. So I stepped down from that and started at a local dog food shop, essentially. Come right here, BB. Will you sit? You gotta sit, please. Thank you. Anyway, so started a local pet food shop called Chuck and Don's. From what I have learned, they sold pretty bougie dog food, which we fed my girls for a long time. Oh, but my baby might be waking up now. It is around her feeding time. Well, almost her feeding time, so that makes sense. I think we have a few more minutes and then we'll have to call it, which is good. I don't want this video to be too long. But anyway, so over there I learned a lot about dog health, dog food, different needs of dogs, all different things like chews, teeth brushing. We did also have a self-wash. We were the only self-wash one in Colorado. So I learned over there kind of how to clean and sanitize and start doing that stuff, and what dogs liked and did. I didn't actually bathe any dogs, but I learned most dogs don't like the blow dryer, believe it or not. So yeah, that was kind of my intro to dog grooming, almost in a weird way. And then I ended up quitting, worked a small part-time job before my time at PetSmart started. And it was really funny. When I was at Chuck and Don's, one of the reps for dog food was talking to my manager, and they were saying once you start in the dog business, there's no going back. You stay in it for forever. And funny that I actually ended up back in the dog business after a short part-time job in between gigs. And actually, when I was going into flight attending, the other thing that I was, I was weighing which job to do, it was dog grooming. At the time, though, it was because Utah has a pretty bougie dog grooming school. The tuition costs about as much as going to college. So at the time, and there's like no financial aid option. So at the time, it wasn't plausible where flight attending was. So that's why I ended up choosing flight attending. But kind of funny that I made my way back to one of my original, career thoughts that I had. Definitely dog grooming is the job for me, though. I absolutely love it. I have, like, every dog groomer goes through a little rough patch during their first year, but that's really been the only time where I've thought about quitting and changing. But ever since kind of making it over that hump and you figure out what you're doing and your routine and what works really best for you, there's been like no looking back. I have absolutely loved it, and it has been amazing. Yeah, while we were over in Denver, we adopted our 2 dogs. Both are rescues. Our older dog, only by about a month, is Chani. She is our Lab Husky Shar-Pei mix. She's the bigger one. She is a beautiful red color, double coated, so she sheds a ton. So anyone that has a shedding dog, I know your issues, and I know how to solve them pretty well, I will say, because we've had to deal with that very much. And then our little one, who you've been seeing come on and off camera, her name is Bijaz. We call her BB. All of our dogs are named after Dune characters from the book. And she is a German Shepherd Border Collie mix. You might notice, though, she is very small in size for her mix breed. That is because, we call our true rescue dog. We rescued her from the Denver Animal Shelter, and when she came in, she was extremely emaciated. Her previous owners did not really feed her very much, especially as a puppy, so she has a huge growth stint. Ever since adopting her, she has doubled in weight, and we've been to 3 different vets since getting her, because we've moved a couple times, and we moved vets while we were over here. But they have all said that she looks great, and she's at a very healthy weight now, so we are very happy with that. And even though she's small, though, she's the most perfect dog. She loves playing fetch. She will play fetch with my husband for hours and hours. She will play fetch at the park until her stop pads start to come off, so we have to be very careful about that. But she's just the most loving and sweet dog. Same with Chani, but Chani is more of she wants to, do her own thing. She's a little more independent. BB is very much, and I think it is because of the neglect she experienced as a puppy from her previous owners, but she very much clings to her people and is an attention hog, we like to call her. But yeah, we have been doing a little bit more intensive training with them since we had our kid, and they have been responding super well to it. They were always trained with basic commands and pretty well trained, I will say. But we wanted just to give them that little bit of edge. We're now trying to get them to where we can pass them off as canine good citizens, and they are getting pretty close. We just have a couple more skills that we need to work on, and then we will basically be there. So we're getting pretty close to that. But yeah, anyway, so we got those 2 over in Denver, moved over to Salt Lake about a year ago, and basically right after, it was only a couple weeks after I started at Pet Sweets, I got pregnant. Not planning to get pregnant that quickly. We thought, just because of family history, it would take a few tries, but it did not, and so we got pregnant pretty quickly. My pregnancy, though, I will say, last year I had hoped to do all the things I am currently doing this year, like starting this YouTube channel and actually getting stuff uploaded, and starting my NCMG and my getting certified in the PGC, getting a photo backdrop for dogs, which I finally was able to do and put together, and pursuing kind of these higher education things that I have wanted to do with my career, and to kind of boost my social media presence a little bit more as well. Those were not able to happen last year because I got extremely sick. If you read the What to Expect book, or the Pregnancy Bible as we called it in our house. In the morning sickness section, it will say like 98% of people will get better like by week 12 or 14 or whatever week it is. But the 2% of unlucky people will stay sick the remainder of their pregnancy. That was me. I stayed sick the remainder of my pregnancy. I threw up every single morning of my pregnancy, which sucked so bad, if you can imagine, for 9 months. And during the first trimester, I got so sick that I had to take almost 2 months off of work, which was not in the plans at all, especially because I had just started. And to make it worse, it was so bad I had to get IVs, because at one point I could hardly keep even water down. So yeah, it was a rough year. And then to make it even worse, I did take maternity leave. Well, that wasn't the worst part, that was the good part. But I did take a 2-month maternity leave, it was end of October through kind of mid-December. It was like 2 days before Christmas. I was so glad I got to get some Christmas grooms in, because that is one of my favorite times of the year as a dog groomer. But yeah, so that was last year, and that's why I was not able to get any of the things done that I wanted to last year with my career. And that was mainly because I was just so sick, and I was just focused on making it through the day. So the best part I will say though about the year, besides having my child and then getting better, I can eat food and drink water again, thank goodness. But the best part of my year besides that was grooming dogs. Every day that I got to go into work was a good day, even if I was feeling super nauseous and sick. Being able to do what I loved got me through those 9 months. That, and then my husband as well. He is amazing, but he was super amazing during those 9 months and just always there by my side. And then of course my dogs were amazing. We call them our emotional support pets for a reason. They were just always there to give me cuddles and kisses when I needed it the most, especially when I was at my most sick. And when I was at my most sick, one of the big reasons I could not come into work, well, one, I was so weak, but then number two, they put me on so many medicines to try to get me to eat and to not be nauseous. I was like so loopy. I was like, if I hold a pair of scissors or clippers, I'm gonna cut a dog, and I did not want that to happen. So I even came back for a little bit, and I told my managers to put me only on bath dogs for like a couple of weeks. I tried it, and whoops, sorry, baby knocked the phone down. There we go. But I tried to come back for a couple of weeks and do just bath dogs, and that was a whole scheduling fiasco because they opened my schedule up fully, and so I had dogs thinking they were going to get full grooms that only were bath dogs, and they were extremely disappointed, which I would say I would too, but I was like, I am not going to try to cut your dog in the state that I am, but I can bathe them safely where I'm not using sharp objects. So but anyways, then I was able to come back full-time. And then after maternity leave, I came back full-time, and not full-time, I am part-time very much so. But when I am there 100% now, 110% I will even say, and I love it. Yeah, we're back to, learning new things, doing new skills, and really working on, getting a good clientele going, and getting like education going as well, and just upping my quality and like the look of my grooms. So, which is what I ultimately wanted to do last year. So very excited that we're now back on track for that. Other than that, the other thing I wanted to go into in this video was the services that we offer and what they include. So, Pet Suites recently, and by recently I mean it was I want to say June, they changed what their services are called, and I hated that. I was so mad. My managers know. I didn't give them grief, but I was like, I asked so many questions because I wanted to make sure, one, I was still gonna make a livable wage, and two, like my clients aren't getting screwed over or messed up, and they're still getting what they need at a reasonable price as well, because I know dog grooming can be expensive, especially if you have a really big dog that has high grooming needs, which a lot of doodles do, and they just don't know it, but we will go over that in a different video. But But anyways, so our grooming services, we have everything. People don't know this. We have walk-in services, just like at PetSmart. If your dog needs a nail trim, the one thing I would recommend is calling. You can find our number on the Google, or I do have it in, I have a doc card, which is essentially, it is a virtual business card. I have the phone number listed on my doc card, and I will put the link to that in the description. That also has links to all my social media, my Venmo if you needed to tip, if you forgot to tip at the register, and then like where to schedule. But anyways, we do have walk-in services. I would recommend calling before, because there are some days we finish really early in the day, and if you don't know this, most groomers get paid commission. So once I'm done and I'm done cleaning, if I don't have any more clients, I'm out. I'm leaving. Like I said, I love my job, but if I'm not getting paid to just kind of sit around and do nothing, I'm not going to stay there. I'd rather go home and, watch videos on how to improve, or like what I was doing this week was taking my NCMG written tests. Or, I do have a newborn baby. Well, not newborn anymore. She's 4.5 months. But, I do have to care for her and take care of her in order to do what I love, which is dog grooming. But yeah, so call first, because sometimes we do leave early. If you call or schedule it, because you can schedule the walk-in appointments, that is always the best, because then I know you're coming in and I can either text you and say, hey, can you come in earlier? Or I live really close actually to Pet Suite, so I can leave and then come back for your appointment if I need to. So yes, that is a little bit about walk-ins. We do nail trims, we do brush outs. This is the big one people don't take advantage of. We brush your dog out. Nail trims start right now at $18 for a basic nail trim. And I always recommend the nail grinding. That is where we will file your dog's nails down. We will go more into nail grinding and nail trimming and the differences and why each is very good in a different video. We'll go over each of these and like each little thing in a different video, because we're going to do pet parent education here. But anyways, nail grinding, they just upped the price. I believe it's $23 or $24 now, somewhere in there. They upped it by $1, so it's not like you're going to break the bank. Anyways, and then dog brushing. My rate for dog brushing is, for every 1 minute of brushing, I charge you $1, but I do it by 10 minutes. So 10 minutes of brushing, $10. So if you want a long doodle or a long coated dog, but brushing daily at home does not fit your lifestyle, you can bring them into me I recommend every 1 to 2 weeks, and I will brush your dog out for you. I love brush outs. They're great. The dogs love it too, because they don't have to get a bath and a blow dry. That's usually the worst part of the grooming process for most pets. They just get a nice easy brush out, and then they can go back to playing with their friends or go back home. Other walk-in services that we do is teeth brushing, anal gland expression, kind of just all the random add-ons. We could even do like a nose and paw balm if you wanted that, although that is something I need to have my managers order, because we are out of it. So I will add that to my list. And other things that we can do is like a quick face trim if you just wanted, the stop area, which is where the nose meets the rest of the face, right by the eyes. If you wanted that area neatened up, we can do that. Or the visor, we can do a quick visor trim. The visor is the area, it's like the bangs that goes right in front of the eyes. Those are all little trims that we can do. I've even done a sanitary trim as a walk-in service. Any trimming, usually I just charge $10 for the trim, like a sanitary or a face trim, just as I would an add-on to a different service. Anal glands is, I believe, 14 for anal glands, 16 for teeth brushing, or did they up? I think it's 16. Sorry, when I came back from maternity leave, they upped like really random items, but not all of them. So I believe teeth brushing is still 18, or 16. It's 16 or 18, one of those two. So sorry. And yeah, I think that was all that I mentioned. Oh, and then pop balm, $8 if I remember right. Those are all the walk-in services really that we do. Next up is our exit baths. Now exit baths is at PetSmart. They were very different. They charged $30. Well, it's $29.99, but $30, and it's just a bath and a dry and out. And at PetSmart they had very specific breed specifications and fur like type or coat specifications, because they wanted that dog in and out within 30 minutes or less. At PetSuite, it's a little different. The price varies based on breed of dog. Now, I start my exit baths out at $20 a dog. So if you have a Chihuahua, it's $20. Or a small terrier. I do my dogs based on how big they are. Most groomers do that as well. And then after that, that's the base price, and then after that is the coat type, and the haircut. So if you have like a really long doodle, but it's like BB size, then usually I would charge $30 for a dog, an exit bath for BB size, but since it is a longer coated dog, I'll probably end up charging $35 just because it's extra shampoo, it's extra drying time, all those things kind of factor into the overall cost. But medium-sized dog breeds, so like my little girl BB, her size, up to like kind of like a lab size, those I generally charge $30 for, and then anything over than that, it's $40. I generally do not charge over $40 unless it's like a Newfoundland with a very thick coat, and then I will charge more. And again, that is because it's more shampoo and time in the bath, and then more drying time as well. The drying time on our exit baths is the big one. That's the thing that takes the longest. So that's the exit baths. Those we like to do at the end of the day, but if I have other grooming clients, I do them when I can fit them in during the day. If you like put in your notes that you would like them done towards the end of the day, I will try my absolute best to follow that request. The best thing you can do though is tell the host when you are checking in for an exit bath that you would like your pet not to go back into group after their exit bath, and then that way they stay in their clean suite and they're not mixing with all the other dog germs and fun bodily fluids and stuff that end up on the floor in group. It's what dogs do. It just is. They keep it as clean as they can, but there's only so much that they can do as well. I know our pros are amazing and they're very good at cleanup, but when there's like, 30, 40 dogs and they're all going at the same time and playing, there's stuff that just naturally gets places. And by that, I mean dog pee. But again, they do their best to clean it up. So that's our exit bath. Next service up is our full bath. That includes a bath, blowout, a brush out up to a certain point, and a nail trim. I say a brush out up to a certain point. We will brush the tangles out of your dog that are reasonable. If your dog has matting, there will be extra charges. If your dog is a double coated dog like a husky or like Chani, a lab, we are not going to take the time to de-shed your dog. We are just making sure that their coat is tangle free. Again, if it is like matted or has pretty bad mats, there will be a dematting fee added on. Dematting fees work the same way as the brushing fees. It is for every 10 minutes, we charge $10, or at least I do that way. I don't know what my coworker Max charges. His prices are different. But that's how I charge it. So that is the bath. The next step up is the premium bath. That is everything in the bath. So a bath, blow dry, brush out, nail trimming. And then we also do a blueberry facial shampoo, an upgraded shampoo and conditioner. We also do, I'm thinking what else we do. Paw balm, we do a paw trim and a sanitary trim. So really people do that one if they have like a doodle and they want the sanitary area neatened up, and the paws nice and round. So that is one way to do that. Or if they're already getting, 2 or 3 add-ons, I'll just recommend doing the premium bath because it ends up, the package deal costs the same or sometimes less than doing everything individually. The one thing that is not included in that is anal glands, because if I am squeezing your dog's anal glands, I am getting paid for it. The only exception is if If I am not able to release the anal glands, I will not charge you for it if nothing comes out. But if something does come out, I will charge for it because it is gross. But it is necessary. We do it to BB every 2 weeks. we know it's necessary for some dogs. We'll go into that in a different video though. Things that you can add on to any of our bath services and above: dematting fees, extra brushing fees, de-shed package. De-shed package we recommend for our double coated dogs. We'll go more into that in a different video. But what it does is it gets their undercoat out. Right now it is March. We are in shedding season, or blowout season, whatever you want to call it. And so our current deal is $10 off any de-shed package. We highly recommend getting that for any dog that is double coated right now because their coats are shedding and it will mat or get compacted if you do not get it out of them. Again, we'll go into that in a different video, more in details. And we also do a hand stripping fee. That is another skill that I am going to be learning. I know how to do a little bit because we do a little bit on BB, but I have not yet, full disclosure, I have not carded or hand stripped a full dog, start to finish. That again is something I will be learning in my master grooming certification, but I currently do not have that skill quite yet. But I do know how to do little areas. So if you wanted, like BB has some little fluff on her elbows and around her knees, I know how to hand strip that off. Instead of just trimming it, it looks so much better. It makes their color really shine through. So if that's something you want, we can add that on as well. And that one is priced like the demat or the extra brushing fee. Other things is flea and tick bath. Not all pet suites, I learned the other day, did this because I had a dog with notes from a pet suites in Virginia where if they found fleas, they just sent the dog home. That is not the case with me. I know how to properly do a flea and tick bath. We have a special shampoo for it. It charges an extra, I think it's $32 per dog, because it's not fun. And then we have to be exposed to fleas and ticks. And then we have to disinfect everything that the dog has touched, including the kennel and the bathtub and the hose. And we have to wear special gloves for it, and the shampoo is pretty expensive. So extra fee for that. Typically too, we have to bathe them twice. We have to do the flea and tick bath, and then we have to bathe them one more time after that. And then after that, we recommend getting them into your bed. Again, we'll go into fleas and ticks in a different video. That's another add-on that you can do onto any of our full services, which is from our full bath up. After the premium bath, that took a while, is our mini groom, and this used to be known as a bath and trim. I still wish it was. This is the one that bugs me the most that they changed, because a lot of pet parents think a mini groom means a groom for a smaller dog. It does not. Or some people think it means a feather trim or an outline or a perimeter trim. All of them are the same thing. It does not. A mini groom is a full bath. So a bath, blow dry, brush out, and nail trim with a sanitary trim, a paw trim, and either a face or a butt trim. So a lot of our double coated dogs, so our Huskies, Goldens, etc., will get a mini groom because their moms just want their butt neatened up, and their sanitary area looking nice. So that is an example, a prime example of a mini groom. Another one is if you have a fluffy dog, so a Bichon, a Poodle mix, a Doodle, or a purebred Poodle as well. If you have and you like your dog's coat to be a little bit longer in between grooms, or if you want to every 3 to 4 weeks get them in for a kind of like a fixer-upper groom, I would say. A lot of people opt for a mini groom and do the face trim so that their dog can still see even with a longer coat. And we can also neaten the muzzle up a little bit as well to make sure that they're not dripping water everywhere. Obviously, we're not going to fully recut the whole face, because if you do, it can actually look weird because if the face is the same length or shorter than the body, especially on a teddy bear face, it looks really weird and it doesn't have the teddy bear look anymore, and people don't like that. So we will neaten and do what we can, but usually it's just around the eyes that we do neaten, and like the ears if there's some weird loose hanging hairs, because dog hair, we'll get into this again in a different video, it grows at different rates. and at different times, but sometimes there's like a random hair that grew really quick, and so we will trim that as well. So that's another good example of a mini groom. And then above that is our full groom, which is a bath, brush, blowout, and nail trim. All of our full services include nail trim, which is a question we get frequently asked. And then a full haircut. A full haircut includes any length that is taken off of the body. So that is why feather trims or perimeter outline trims, again, they're all interchangeably used. They count as a full service groom because you are taking length off of the body and like the leg areas of the dog. Any shave downs obviously will count as that. We do have our base prices. Again, I do all of my base prices based on the size of the dog, because it's how long it takes me to groom the dog. But if you would like a more intense haircut, which this is something I always approve and discuss with my pet parents before starting, it will require an extra, possibly scissoring fee, if it's going to take more time than just a standard cut does. Yeah, so that is our services and what we offer. And a little bit more about that. I always, though, verify with my pet parents what service they signed up for versus the one they want, because sometimes those are different. We have a lot of labs that will sign up for full grooms. Labs do not need any hair taken off of them, so we will change them to a full bath. Usually with a de-shed is what the pet parent wanted. But I always verify before starting a dog, because I do not want to get to where I have shaved your dog and that's not what you wanted. Because again, our hosts are amazing, but they are not fully trained in like what goes on in the grooming salon. So sometimes they'll see, a lab with a full groom and they'll think that's totally normal. Where when I see a lab with a full groom, that's a red flag, and that means I really need to talk to this pet parent and verify before I even start bathing the dog. Because you generally do not cut hair on labs. There are a very few pet parents that like that, and that's why, again, I do verify. But yeah, and sometimes people will get a mini groom, but they wanted a full haircut. So there's always that. So that was our services. And yeah, lastly, I guess I'll just go into a little bit about me and my personality. We already went over kind of how I got to where I am today. We'll go into my likes and dislikes. Outside dog grooming, because that's really, especially with a baby, all I have time for is baby and dog grooming, which is my job. And I'm very lucky to have a job that I absolutely love. But outside of that, what do I like to do? Me and my husband, we play video games all the time together. We actually, when we were dating, we played Overwatch together. That is one of the big things that we connected on very early on in our relationship. And since then, we have played a plethora of games together, along with, I just like playing games separately anyways, so that is something that I love to do. The other thing is we love to watch movies, TV shows, documentaries, whatever. So we watch a lot of those. Right now we are making our way through One Piece. We are in the Wano arc, so no spoilers. Yes, and that is going very slowly. We were going at a pretty good pace, and then we had a child. So, and when you have a kid, you would think you'd have a lot of time on your hands because they sleep. But they get to a certain age and they stop wanting to sleep all the time. So we've gotten to that age, and luckily right now she's still asleep. We're gonna be wrapping this up real quick though, because I need to go feed her soon. But yeah, so that's those are some of the other things I like to do in my free time. One, which this is something that I have been doing since having a kid that I forgot I love so much, is training my dogs. I love working with them. It is something that a lot of people don't realize, and I had forgotten about this. It makes your bond with your dog even stronger when you train them, because they learn to trust you and to listen to you, and you learn that your dog is actually very well behaved and can be very well behaved. And like I said, our dogs have always been pretty well behaved. Obviously, like all dogs, there are some issues that they have had, but by like working through those and learning together, like your bond just gets so much stronger, and so that has been a lot of fun. Other things I love to do is to knit and crochet. I picked this up during the pandemic actually, and then I learned to knit. Crocheting I picked up during the pandemic, and then I learned to knit a little bit later on, a couple years after, and I fell in love with it. Again, it's something I haven't been able to do as much with a child, but it has been a lot of fun. The other thing me and my husband love to do is eat really good food together. Since having a kid, again, we haven't been able to do a lot of that because it's hard to go out to eat with a kid. But we love trying new restaurants and things. That is another thing about me. I am actually a vegan as well, so I am, I guess you can say, a little picky on what I eat. But it's fun to try new foods and different styles. What else is there? There's one other thing I was gonna say and then I blanked on it. Oh, I guess I can go over favorite dog breed standard cuts. My favorite breed standard cuts currently are anything that is like a schnauzer. So schnauzers, Wheatons, really any of the long-legged terriers, they have a very similar haircut. I love being able to do a different face, and the challenge that presents than just the standard like teddy bear haircut. Even though the teddy bear is a very fine haircut, when you do, 4 or 5 of them a day, it does get a little tiring after a little while, but that also means you get very good at the haircut and very efficient at it. But when I have a different haircut like a schnauzer, it is just a lot of fun and I enjoy it very much. That is a haircut I'm excited to keep getting better at as I pursue my NCMG. Another one that I love is the poodle. Any type I get to do clean face and clean feet, I get so excited. We even back in Colorado, so it was a little Shih Tzu. I'm sorry, it had the ugliest haircut. It's not even clean feet, it had clean boots, which is where you shave higher up on their arm, on their forearm, and then on their hock, or up there, I forget what the actual bone is called, but that back little ankle joint. And then they got a clean face and they had ears that were so long. It's a very distinct haircut, a very stylized haircut. I personally thought it was kind of ugly, but fun to do because it was different. There's a difference between what I think is, and like again, everything is objectional. If I think a haircut is ugly but a pet parent loves it, I'm still going to execute it to the very best of my abilities because I want to give you guys a quality haircut. And what I think at the end of the day doesn't really matter. It's what you think of your dog. And the feeling you get when you look and cuddle with it. So, but yeah, like the other day, I got to give a doodle a mullet, which was a first for me. I had to I Googled it just before going into work even to get a sense of what it was. It's basically just a wider mohawk that goes down the neck to about the withers, which is the shoulders of the dog. Personally, not my favorite look, especially on some of the dogs that were shaved really, really short. But it was really fun to do because again, it was a totally different haircut. But the other dogs I love doing are poodles. Like I said, clean face, clean feet. I die for those anytime. Excuse me. And I love being able to scissor a top knot. There's something just so satisfying about once you're done with the top knot and it just looks so beautiful and round. Same with like the palm tails. Just absolutely gorgeous. Unfortunately, here in Utah, we do not get a ton of dogs. Even though there's a lot of doodles, no doodle owner wants their doodle to look like a poodle. And for reasons. I mean, their jowls are different, so it can look kind of funny with a clean face. And usually they have very sensitive feet. So there's a reason too we don't like doing clean feet on a lot of doodles. But we also don't get a lot of poodles that want poodle cuts. In Colorado, I had 4 or 5, I think it was 5 poodle clients that would come in on a revolving basis every 6 to 8 weeks. And most of them got clean feet and clean face, and they were so fun to do. So those are my favorite breed cuts to do. Oh, the other thing we like to do that I had forgotten about, hiking. We have not done this really since we have moved to Utah because again, we were focused on finding my job first and then I got pregnant and so and then I was sick and we just couldn't hike. But this is something, especially now that our baby is getting you know, we have longer stretches in between feeding times and nap times. This is something we really want to start back up. Hopefully the summer is going on like a monthly hike with our dogs. It's so much fun and it's great exercise for everyone, and you get to be outdoors and it's just awesome. So hopefully that's something we'll be able to start back up pretty soon. But yeah, mostly, like I said, just to conclude, this is a channel mainly for dog grooming education for pet parents. Obviously, we're not going to go into the details of every single haircut, but it is very important as a pet owner for your dog's health and safety, even for you to know and to be able to establish a good grooming routine for your pet. We'll go more into that for each coat type and like examples of different breeds in further videos. For right now, my goal is to get 2 videos out a month. I think that is a decent goal, especially since I have a baby. So yeah, and we'll be showing off the best tools to use and all that. We'll also be going over, we'll do 1 coat type video a month until we're through kind of the bulk of the coat types, and what their grooming requirements should look like, and the different tools that you need to groom them at home. And then we're also going to go over some of the smaller services and why they're important, different like anatomy structures, especially of like the nail and anal glands and stuff like that. And then after that, I would love to go over some other dog health things that I just have a little bit of expertise in, such as your pet's nutrition. Obviously, you should always consult a vet first, but it's good to know a little bit more about nutrition and what you're feeding your dog. Other things are like dog treats and chews and teeth, and another thing I would love to get into a little further down the line is pet products that I have personally found absolutely life-saving. There are some that I like will use time and time again, and I'll always go back to certain brands for specific pet products. So some like kind of lifestyle, dog lifestyle stuff. But mainly we're going to start out with all the grooming stuff because there is a lot to go over for pet parent education. And very soon, this is our exciting, fun announcement. It's going to be sometime this month. This is the first step in my practicals for my NCMG. We are going to be bringing home a poodle puppy. I am so excited. I never thought in a million years before being a dog groomer I would say that I wanted a poodle puppy because I thought they were the foo-foo dogs. They're actually very, very athletic dogs, and they are so fun to groom. They are a lot of work if you have one, but that is the first breed that we are going to be working on in my NCMG. So we're going to be bringing that home later this month. And so you'll see a lot of it in videos because finally we'll have a curly coated fluffy dog to show off all of the fun tips and tricks. You'll be seeing a lot of my dogs too as we go over coat types. I say my dogs as if they're different than the puppy. All of my dogs, as we show off all the different coat types and kind of haircuts and different ways to desensitize dogs. But yeah, so anyways, we will also be doing some puppy videos as well on here, especially how to desensitize puppies to grooming, because that is a big one that needs to happen. But yes, until our next video, which we will be going over probably double coated dogs first, just because Chani is amazing when she's on the table and she just sits so perfectly and she's a perfect demo dog for that. But we should hopefully have that one up in 2 weeks. I'm hopefully going to get this video up very soon. The other thing, I do not have any editing skills right now, so for the meantime, they're just going to be one-take videos. Me or my husband will figure out how to edit eventually, and hopefully with time you will see that these videos get better and better. But for now, the goal is just to educate and to get the information and give a spot that I can show, especially my clients too, so that they can get the skills they need to take better care of their dogs and get their dogs in even better health. But yeah, that is all. This video went way longer than I wanted. I knew it was going to be a pretty long one though. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me, about the products and the services that I offer currently at Pet Suites. Um, yeah. And if you want to book with me or are interested in, we also do free consultations. Just any day that I am in, bring your dog in. It can even be if they're coming in for a play date at Pet Suites, I can look them over and just recommend what services I would do. And we can get a grooming schedule going. But yeah, that is that. Until next time, stay safe out there. Tell your dogs I said hello and give them lots of puppy kisses and hugs. Bye bye.